Jeff 2 times.
Shout out to Jeff 2 times.
From Almighty RSO and Made Men.
Yeah.
But there were so many important DJs, and I just like, I could have listed about 500 off the top of my head. If we're talking about scratch DJs and turntablists, we'll be here forever.
I'm gonna go DJ Jazzy Jeff. I'm gonna go DJ because he's the first one that comes to mind. And he's still doing his thing now, and he's super dope. A couple of fun rapid fire questions, you know, just for fun. So who's in your top 5? I know that's I know, but I got
1979, 1984, when there were very few people, and it was like, and the art was changing so much that it was easy to say that, okay, my top 5 is Grandmaster Melly Mel, my top 5 is Grandmaster Kaz, I'm talking Kumo D, Spoonie G, and maybe my 5th guy is Curtis Blow.
Okay.
Like, that was a time when you're like, yeah, top 5, and then like maybe early on in the golden eras, you know, it would switch to Run from Run DMC, Ecstasy from Houdini,
yeah.
you know, maybe it's Prince Marky D from the Fat Boys,
okay.
You know, and then like later on it would include people like maybe homie who did the first record with Jazzy J, you know, so like it would switch, and then like in the golden eras, all of a sudden now it switches up. Now you have like KRS One. Yeah. Now you have Cool Keith. Okay. Now you have like Cool G Rap, and then you know Big Daddy Kane. You know, so like it would switch around like that. So that was a great time for like having a top 5. But now, like at my big age, I'm almost 48, and having a top 5 is like.
You know, mine's changed all the time. Interesting enough, I've kind of been, weirdly enough, in some weird dynamics, kind of all my top 5's presents. So I'm gonna say my top 5 now, I'm gonna say Raekwon and Ghostface as a collective for some reason. I'm gonna say Nas. I'm gonna go Nas. Gonna go Nas. I'm gonna go Rakim, and I'm gonna go KRS-One. That's my top 5.
Yeah, like Rakim, KRS-One, like those were like the guys for the top 5 back in like the first golden era, 86 to 89. And then of course, like as we all know,
Shantae, honorable mentions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and of course, like you know, like from the second golden era, which is 92 to 96, that's when the conversation switched to Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas. So there was always a debate. So they were in like the top 5.
Yeah.
You know, people were talking about Tretch, you know, Chip Fu from Schnickens. You know, like there were so many people that were like dope, like. And you know the thing about rap too is that people would have 3 to 5 year runs.
Yeah.
You know, so like a lot of their great years, a lot of their great albums happened in the span of 3 to 5 years. You know, that's like what the whole King of New York thing was always about, because it was always this push pull of like who is the hottest now, who's the best now. You know, and you know sometimes some people just had 2 dope albums and that was it. You know, like Special Ed. You know, Special Ed had 2 albums, age 16 and age 18, and then disappeared for a while.
But he's a dope businessman. Like, I saw him on Unsung. He has all types of businesses and recording studios. He's doing all right.
Yeah.
You know, he flipped it into something profitable. Like, he had a plan.
You know,
yeah.
Like, he had 2 classic albums before he, like, right at the age of 18, and by the time he was 21, he was like, I just don't see how profitable, how like sustainable it is for me to be a recording artist like, you know, some of my peers are. Yeah. You know, because like he should have gone gold both albums on Profile, and it just didn't happen, you know.
Yeah, all the ladies love Special Ed. If you don't know, ladies, if you don't know him, some gentlemen, if you don't know him, look him up. He used to be something else.
Yeah, I remember going to see Juice and hearing girls squeal. They were squealing. He was on screen for
like
40
seconds.
for like maybe 10 seconds, and squealing, instant squealing. I was just like, what
is going on?
Really?
Hip hop crews, because you had a lot of hip hop crews.
Oh yeah.
You had Digging in the Crates, right, with Showbiz and AG and Fat Joe. People forget Fat Joe wasn't Digging in the Crates for some reason.
Yeah, I don't get that one.
So Digging in the Crates. You had Get Fresh crew. You had oh my God, Roxanne. What's the crew with Molly Mall and all them?
Juice Crew.
Juice Crew. So who was your favorite crew? I'm gonna go with Digging in the Crates. I'm gonna go with Digging in the Crates on top 3 crews too. Digging in the Crates. I'm gonna go Get Fresh crew, and I'm gonna go. Ooh, and I'm gonna go Daisy Age, the Daisy Age crew.
Oh, so you're talking about the
native tongues. I'm gonna go native tongues.
So for me, all time, my list would be Hollis Crew, which was Run DMC, Black Rock and Run, Hurricane. We're talking about like the Afros later.
Yeah,
so like that whole crew, we're talking about like Hollis Crew was big. Davey D, who made a album that people always forget happened on Def Jam, Davy's Ride, great album. So I'll go with Hollis Crew one. I'm gonna go with Juice Crew because Juice Crew is essential.
Yeah.
I gotta go with Juice Crew.
Yeah.
Because there's too many dope people in Juice Crew. There's
Master
too many.
A's.
Yeah, there's everybody. Everybody was in Juice Crew.
Yeah.
The Native Tongues, because the Native Tongues were like a big crew, but a crew that a lot of people don't talk about enough is Constipated Monkeys.
Oh.
Constipated Monkeys is that was a derivation of Third Bass's crew, which had third bass, which had the beat nuts were kind of in and out of them in the Native Tongues. You had H2O, Hard to Obtain. You had so many different people inside that whole crew. Curious, Toddy, Lord Sear, everybody was in that crew. Then like Hieroglyphics.
Hieroglyphics, shout out.
Hieroglyphics crew, NWA. So we're talking about NWA, you're talking about the Fila Fresh crew, you're talking about DOC was in Fila Fresh crew, you're talking about like JJ Fad, you're talking about DJ Train, Arabian Prince. There were so many people that came out of like that whole crew out of Ruthless Records.
Yeah.
Army of the Pharaohs, you're talking about Demigods, you're talking about Weathermen, Indelible MCs, like
he's like a genius of hip hop. He's like an encyclopedia.
So it's hard to get a simple answer out of me because quite literally you're screaming at the oracle asking for like one thing and you're gonna get 50 things.
But we gotta say the Juice Crew is definitely
absolutely
like a staple. Yeah, okay. Favorite hip hop movie? I'm gonna go Beat Street.
So for me, the thing about hip hop movies for me is that the ones that were made by Hollywood kind of irk me because they're kind of corny and they're not always representative of the culture.
Yeah.
So I gotta be that guy. My favorite hip hop movies are hip hop movies. So likely, my favorite one is Style Wars because it's a documentary. Wild Style because it was the first hip hop movie, even though it's scripted and it had like people from the culture in it, but it had to be scripted and made, a little palatable for the mainstream, for the public, and then ultimately that's what leads to Beat Street being made. Because basically what happens was they took Wild Style, they took Style Wars and Wild Style, and they were like, all right, we're gonna make a movie using these. And in the West Coast, is funny because break-in happens because a guy from Roxbury.
Shout out to Roxbury.
Yeah, a guy from Roxbury who everybody knows, Tapa Carew, moved to LA to make film and television. And he ended up making in like DC Cab, and he ended up making a documentary called Breaking and Entering about the LA hip hop scene. And that documentary ends up being the reason why we get Breaking and Breaking 2, because it pretty much took everybody from that movie and they cast them. I'm talking about Shabba-Doo, talking about Michael Boogaloo Shrimp Chambers, who everybody knows, Turbo, and they know them as Turbo and Ozone. They're talking about Ozra, who was later in The Pilot from 1984. The Pilot, you can find it on YouTube. We're talking about like Coco, who they called Hot Top in the movie. Like everybody from that whole scene. The Radiotron was based on a real club in LA. So like all that. So for me, again, the answer is gonna be Style Wars and Wild Style.
What were your first pair of sneakers? Your first pair of your favorite designer sneakers?
So growing up in the South End, Lower Roxbury, it was an Adidas. It was an Adidas neighborhood, but I wasn't allowed to wear Adidas because my big brother, 6 years older than me, well, this is 9 years older than me, because it was considered a thug sneaker. And also in my neighborhood, I grew in this, again, South End, Lower Roxbury. I grew up on Mass Ave between Columbus in Tremont.
Yeah.
And it was a heavy gang activity, heavy drug activity, you know, crack was prominent, and there were stick-up kids everywhere. So my family was like, we want to make sure you come home from school. And I was going to the Timothy at one point.
Shout out to Timothy.
And they were like, we want to make sure you come home alive.
Right.
So they didn't want to get me name brand sneakers. So they would get me stuff like, maybe like, these, like, you'll never be able to find these Brentmore Pros. And like I had cousins.
What are those?
Exactly. So my cousins used to work at the Stride Rite factory.
Wow.
So I would get like maybe Zips or something like that, because they just wanted to like. And back in the days, they used to like crack on you for having Bobos. You know, and everybody was broke, so it was weird because people were like, you shop at Morgie's. I was like, so do you.
Shop at Robel's.
Yeah, it's like you shop at Robel's. Like, so do you. We've seen you there. I'll never forget this. In 1987. I got the Latin test, took the Latin test, and I did really well on it. My big brother was at Boston Latin, my sister had graduated. He was like, he looked at me and says, if you're gonna be representing me and going to school with me, we can't have you looking bummy. So he brought me to downtown Crossing, got me some Asher Wash overalls, got me some Asher Wash jeans, got me some other stuff, got me a haircut, a fade, line up, and what have you. And he bought me a pair of gray on white Reeboks. Because he wasn't gonna buy me Adidas. So and Reeboks are brand new. So my first designer pair of sneakers were a gray on white pair of Reeboks in 1987.
All right, my first pair was shell toe Adidas. Was I a thug? I had shell toe. Shell toe Adidas. I did. Yeah. You know, my next and final question has nothing to do with hip hop at all. Is what is your favorite time of day? And why?
Favorite time of day?
And why?
Between midnight and 5 a.m.
Okay.
Because the world's quiet.
Yeah.
Nobody's up doing anything, and you can get the most work done.
Okay.
And I don't really sleep like that. So I basically, at those hours, I get the most writing done, I get the most research done. I watch documentaries, I get whatever I need done. I do so much research and writing and prepping for other things. And then like I get to walk the whole city, you know? And
peace and quiet.
Peace and quiet?
Yeah.
Well,
you got little stragglers running around.
Relative peace and quiet.
There's some weirdos running around. My favorite time of the day is maybe between, because then I can just go home and it's still kind of early, like depending on what is, if it's spring or fall, whatever it is. I just like to just come home to like peace and quiet and just try to think of new ideas and just kind of decompress myself and just wind down from just everybody and everything.
Yeah, I like the chaos.
See, I'm totally different. I just like to decompress from everybody, everything, and think about what's next. Yeah, like that's my favorite time of day. Yeah. So thank you for coming on the show. I'm so excited. I know this is gonna be legendary one day. Yeah, because this is like your social media, and I know you just did an article for the Boston Magazine.
Yeah. So
let all the people know where they can find you, how they can follow you, and everything like that.
So I'm on Twitter, as long as Twitter survives, at Dart_Adams. I'm on Instagram, barely, at Dart_Adams. Don't even look for the Facebook because I don't use it. You can find me anywhere. I write currently for Boston Magazine. I did a piece just for the March issue. The piece for the March issue was about the Embrace. So I was very involved in the Embrace. I'm involved with, Embrace Boston. If you search for Dart Adams, you're gonna find a whole bunch of writing. Yeah, and probably a lot of YouTube videos too.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching, and hopefully I'll have more sit-down interviews like this. It's the 50th anniversary of hip hop. So I will be like the hip hop lady for like through the summer. I'm gonna be doing 50th anniversary of hip hop. See y'all next time.